We noted earlier the two options for Moshe's response of Ve'amru li ma shmo. One, that it was an if-then response. If they ask, then mar or mar alehem. Alternatively, and one that sits better within the Pshuta Shel Mikra, is that Ve'amru li is a statement of fact, that upon hearing that the Elokei Avotechem Shalachani Aleichem, the God has sent me to you to facilitate the redemption from Egypt, they definitely will ask Ma Shmo. And the tone of the question that the Rebbe in the Sikha places into the mouth of Moshe is, why did God ultimately stand by and permit such horrendous acts to be perpetrated against his people? Which I would suggest was the rephrasing of the modern day question, where was God during the Holocaust? The very same question could have been asked, where was God during the Churban Beit HaMikdash? Where was God during the Spanish Inquisition? And hence it's not a Holocaust question but a historical question, if one is to accept a God of history, a God who intervenes into the activities of mankind. Obviously, from Pasuk 13, we have an image of an interventionalist God, and that breeds the question as to the allowance by this interventionalist God for the existence of evil people perpetrating evil acts. One of the unfortunate but understandable outcomes of the Shoah is that it has caused a virtual shutdown of any intelligent discussion of its theological implications. And as I have no need to be politically correct, might I suggest that this came about because the existence of evil, and specifically the Shoah, was used by many of those who survived the Shoah to justify their jettisoning a commitment to Halachic Judaism. And the simplistic line of thinking when something like this, Halachic Judaism is linked to God. God allowed these horrendous events to have taken place, resulting in the murder of 6 million Jews. Then either there is no God, and if there is, how can I bring such a God into my life? A God who was complicit in the annihilation of 1/3 of the Jewish population of Europe. To this line of thinking, Ma Shmo is a challenge, but a challenge for which no answer is sought. But by the same token, there were those who were not necessarily looking for excuses to jettison Judaic practice, who were able to overcome the tragedy and the loss and remained firmly committed to Halachic Judaism as they re-established a new life elsewhere. And for these people, and to their children and grandchildren, the Ma Shmo is a cry of anguish for which a response is required. Just as Moshe demanded a response from God when he raised the very same issue 3,000 years ago. And the response to Moshe's anguished cry regarding God's allowance for the attempted ethnic cleansing of Bnei Israel at the hands of the Egyptians is Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh, Eheyeh Imam B'Tsarazot. I am a God who has not distanced himself from the unfortunate events that are happening to his people, not a God who has withdrawn himself and allowed the forces of nature to take their toll, might makes right, but rather Eheyeh Imam B'Tsarazot. For whatever the reason that there was the need for this unfortunate set of circumstances, nevertheless I am with them in their state of persecution. This, of course, is a faith statement, and this is the Jewish response to the Holocaust within the framework of Halachic Judaism, acceptance of the fact that there are evil people in the world, and for whatever the reason God may have, he allows these evil people to do evil things to others, but at the same time we have the reassurance that there is also a divine plan, which includes both positive and negative events. Orthodox Judaism expresses the hope and the trust that there is a function and a purpose in the broad macro view of history for these unfortunate circumstances, which of course on the micro level we human beings do not see and hence feel the pain. As mentioned, this is a faith statement.